Our students have been champions during this time. They've had to do things that nobody here has ever had to do at their age as well. Despite what's said, our students are engaging in meaningful learning, but it's just going slower. Our learning days are not the same as they were. Our schedules are shorter. But given this environment, I have to ask, why are we still being expected to administer the PARCC test? PARCC has been removed from the teacher evaluations for impact. The STAR rating is being paused for this school year. OSSE has waived the science test for this year, yet PARCC is still being administered. Why? For what purpose?
Teachers do expect to be held accountable, but it's injudicious to hold them and their students to the same standards under the conditions imposed by the national health emergency.
As a teacher in the past, I've had to sign agreements stating that I would administer the test in a secure way. What happens when a well-meaning, well-intentioned parent assists their student with the test? How can we have accurate data in a virtual space? OSSE did not seek my input as a teacher or a parent. I am a mother of 2 middle school students who will not be taking the PARCC assessment because I do not believe it would be an accurate accounting of their learning. For all students, it would be hard to determine what students can do. Again, the learning environments at home are often not conducive for learning.
I've observed a significant concern for my students' mental health. It is the most important factor hurting our students' well-being and resultantly their academic success. I referred more students this year to counseling services than in the previous 3 school years combined. From my perspective as a special educator, if we cannot standardize the accommodations we are giving to students and standardize the environment students will have to focus, then how can we give out a standardized test?
If we need to assess, let's use another test. Possibly the NWEA map, which is aligned to the standards and can be scored much more quickly. But to spend hours, days testing students in 90-minute sessions to discover what we already know, that there's learning loss, is a waste of time.
I heard in one school, they are replacing SEL skills with PARCC skills. That's not what we should be doing right now, especially at this point where mental health for everybody is an all-time low.
The intrusion of the PARCC mandate aids the delay of students receiving what they need to move closer to closing the gap. The test is biased and unrelatable in normal times, which is magnified during COVID-19. In normal times, and even more so during this strange pandemic period, the PARCC test is problematic for students struggling in the District of Columbia. In the face of COVID uncertainty, the unfair expectation for students to take this culturally biased test is seen as punitive at best.
The pandemic has exacerbated inequalities in the education system that are compounded by lack of access and structural racism. Families are dealing with unemployment. They're losing housing or being moved around. There's food insecurity. There's death, whether it's death from COVID or the increase in homicides in the city. My school already lost 3 students this summer. Black and brown families are hit the hardest. So to force PARCC on our students, especially in DC public schools, where the majority are Black and brown, adds another layer of insensitivity and furthers the narrative of the racist system of standardized testing.
Iris from Ann Beers in Ward 7 says there is no reason my children or any child should have to take the PARCC this year. Standardized tests are racist, classist, barely accurate assessment tools, and don't belong in schools and definitely not in our home. Ambar from DC Bilingual Charter School in Ward 5, how could students take an exam while family members are dying?
We are not in normal times. What could this citywide result be other than to further show the inequalities of privileged zip codes? They have learning pods, which results in continuous learning. Conversely, disenfranchised students who don't have pod opportunities will have their unfair advantage multiplied. The PARCC test should be canceled for school year 2020-2021. Thank you for your attention to my concerns.
Once testing begins, any other type of learning stops. On testing days, our students are tired, stressed, and bored. Students are testing for around 2 weeks. However, teachers are used as test administrators. And so depending on how big the school is, the PARCC testing window could be up to a month of disrupted schedules and testing. Once PARCC is over, our students are burnt out. I want to express that again. Our students are burnt out. Our students have already been through so much this year. What do we gain by forcing them to go through this intensive testing experience? And if the argument is for data, let's be honest, PARCC data for this year can't be valid.
Yes, students have definitely missed out on significant amounts of instruction this year, and we will likely see learning loss if and when we do assess them. We already know that. However, for the same reasons I'm sure that students have not learned as much as we wanted them to during this pandemic, I also know that administering a standardized test during this time is a fool's errand. How will we account for a student who's taking the PARCC test at the same time as they are responsible for watching their younger sibling? How will we account for a kid's internet failing multiple times during the test? Are we still going to consider these scores valid when we can't know what obstacles the student faced as they were testing?